Michel will tell us about a legendary liquid Indigocarmine. Indigocarmine, the acid dye Saxony blue, was invented by Johann Christian Barth in 1743. It is made from natural indigo converted with a strong sulfuric acid to mimic an acid-type dye. First, people used it very acidic, and it was not good for silk, but then they learned how to neutralize Saxony blue obtaining Indigocarmine. It is not a vat dye and you can use it as a direct dye for wool and silk. Unfortunately, Indigocarmine is not stable on cellulose fibers, but it can be useful for blue and green prints on silk and wool and of course for one-bath techniques. Having this direct blue dye, you can compose your green and violet one-bath color compositions, means you do not need two steps. Michel will show you the synthesis of Indigocarmine. It is very exciting to show, but please, never try to reproduce it. This process is very dangerous.
This was discovered during the 18th century. In Saxony, they were familiar with acidic solutions to prepare the cobalt blue and different things. And one got the idea of experimenting with this strange blue stone that was coming by from Holland by travelers, and it was the indigo. It was not really a stone, it was looking like. I will tell you about Saxony blue and Indigocarmin. Actually, Indigocarmin is very easy to find as a solution or as powder because it is a food additive. So it is accepted by European community, being non-toxic and absolutely well done. So you can buy the indigo, sulfonated indigo, also called Indigocarmin. But for information, I will tell you a little bit about, and we will have the homemade, so you will understand that it is not easy to make, and it's sometimes better to buy it than to take a risk, because we will use a very corrosive acid, which is sulfuric acid. We must be very prudent. First of all, we put the acid. Gloves. I should wear gloves, of course. But okay. Now I will clean about 600 milliliters. So I will have 1/4 of indigo inside. I will stir and wait for tomorrow. So here is my best indigo. I will put 150. Okay. So 150 grams of good indigo. Okay, and then I will stir with a plastic stick, because the plastic will not be damaged by the acidity, of course. And now it's given kind of very thick paste, but by the time the paste will be more liquid. So it is taking a bit of time. So I'm dissolving that, and tomorrow at the moment I will have it 100% in solution, so fluidic. Carefully put that in water, so to increase the pH, and then when it will be in the water, I will neutralize it with a solution of soda or potassium or something basic. So by the way, I will have a neutral solution, and some particles of soluble indigo will sediment, so I will filter and keep my carmine as a base, which will be soon converted into lumps, chunks, and then easy to make into powder, and then the liquid will be the Saxony blue but neutralized, so we can use it for silk without any damage. So now we have to wait for about 8 hours. That's the minimum. So we'll put that in a very safe place. So here is my acidic solution. Remember, I did put 1 part of indigo plus 4 parts of sulfuric acid. So that's a dangerous operation. So because Indigocarmin is very easy to buy, I suggest, if you are not an expert, if you do not have any lab, I just suggest you buy it somewhere. So I will pour some of this solution in water, not the opposite. Never put the water on acid because it will jump on you. And then I will neutralize as soon as possible with caustic soda. So you will generate sodium sulfate, which is neutral, and then you will be able to work on your silk. So that we are 0. So for example, I will take 100 of this. I will finish that later. So in the past, people were using that solution. They were just diluting that, and they said, okay, we have the dye stuff. Of course, it did work a bit for wool, and but on silk it was not very clever because it was kind of changing the consistency of the silk to get kind of yellowish matter, which is picric acid. So that was not very beautiful. And then here I will add very carefully my caustic soda. So even better to dilute the soda to be sure. But I will try like this if it works.
Keine Ahnung.
Of course, we are doing everything very slowly, very clever to show. But the most important will be to understand how this is done. So now I want to know where I am. So we'll use the pH paper, which is not easy because it's super blue, but I will try rinsing that immediately.
Interesting.
I guess that anyways, it must not be basic. So basic should be kind of disaster. So I will add a small amount, and then I will show you how to take the pH, but just a small amount first, and then I show you. At the big industrial period, they were using that on silk, but they were preparing accurately. So there were the 2 types. On wool, it was just the acidic solution. So of course it was not convenient for anything else. But afterwards they learned how to neutralize, and they could even include some preparation with mordant, because they were neutralizing with acetic acid. So they were doing kind of acetate, and that was interesting to combine. So we should not condemn one product because at the very beginning they were not experienced. So that's very interesting to consult the industrial texts. So that's very good. So let me test, and then I will show you the following step. So now this is definitely yellow, coming to 3, just a little bit. So it must be around 4. And then, to be sure of that, I will put just a bit in this. So a bit could be, for example, 1/10. So not very much, but just enough to check the pH on a diluted solution. You see how beautiful it is. So now, considering that I did dilute 10 times, I will have the measurement of pH to be adjusted to one number. So for example, if this one is 5, for example, it means this one is 4 because it was diluted. And this one actually is kind of still acidic. So I need to add a bit more. Sorry, I'm very slow just to show you.
It's very interesting, especially also just
Almost done. A little bit, and that's it. So, when finishing, to adjust the pH, we have to filter. We have to filter because there are some particles generated in the liquid that we can separate. So we will have two different products from this operation. First one will be in the filter, which is Indigocarmin. This is normally dried and used for printing, but you can also use for plain dyes if you prefer. And the liquid will be safe for plain dyes because or inks, but it is most of the time it is diluted, so we don't use it for very strong colors. So I need a fit to put a cloth on that to strain. Then I hope you will see the particles. Yes, so there's something that you maybe not see, but there's a kind of very dark paste which is coating
yeah. There
the
you see it as well.
surface, and this very dark paste is the carmine. So the carmine will be ready afternoon, and we will run to use the solution which is called a Saxony blue. So it will take a bit of time. Then after some minutes you will see the coat, the good repartition of this blue paste, and we will keep this paste to print on the fabric. So this is not what people call a modern dye. You can print it directly, even better if combined with a little bit of citric acid, which is not the same type of acid.
In the paste.
In the paste, yes, we'll see that later.
Yeah.
Of course. So actually we are in progress. I think we can put that somewhere else. So the Indigocarmin is ready. It looks like a kind of paste, and we can store it, of course, in a pot with 1 drop of essential oil of thyme, or we can have little lamps of it on the radiator to dry it carefully and make it onto a powder. So depends on the project. So you will see that it is highly soluble in water. So by just diluting it, you can have an interesting dye with no need of mordant. So that's interesting. It's just kind of direct dye, like it is the indigo, of course, but this one is highly soluble in pure water. So that's interesting for silk. You don't need to add anything else. So it means that you can also add that in many different pots. Like remember, for example, this pagoda tree and alum preparation, we can also add a little bit of that to get greens. So the number of combinations is so important that we cannot develop everything, but that will be a very interesting tool. So that's my pale version actually, and if I like it darker, I will put more, of course. So I will wait for this to be finished, and then I will put a second one with a bit more, and so on. So you see how it does. The bath is cold, but it's taking something. Sometimes there are some text mentioning that you can finish by a little bit of alum bath. I guess that there were not so many things in the studio at the time, in the manufacture, so all the leftover were combined for mixed colors and also for fixing effect. So the alum is not doing systematically best fastness to light, but it is kind of coating to make kind of waterproof effect and a bit of protection at the same time. So they did, people did appreciate this effect. so it takes time. So I will let it inside for some time. If I want to speed the uptake of the silk, I can add a little bit of could be sodium sulfate, saturating salt. In the past they were using ordinary salt from the kitchen sometimes, or if we are patient, it's just a question of being patient and waiting for the uptake to be perfect. So okay, so that's a spot, because you know the problem with the carmine is that we really need to dissolve it perfectly before you put your silk. So if there's a little lump of that, it will generate a spot of.
As Michel said, the procedure of indigo sulfonation is dangerous. Please don't try to reproduce it yourself. You may buy Indigocarmine and try it in different applications on wool and silk. Just remember that it makes almost no sense to use it on cotton. You may use Indigocarmine on wool and silk as direct dye for blue shades, but in fact, Indigo-VAT gives more stable results. Indigocarmine is very interesting and promising for using in one-bath technique and printing pastes as a blue component for greens and violets. With this soluble blue dye, we have the possibility to mix color freely according to the rules of color wheel. We have yellows, reds and blues. For an easy color combination, you may mix Indigocarmine with rhubarb, cochineal, madder and many other dyes in one bath process and in printing pastes. We will come back to these printing pastes and printing on silk in tutorial 4.